Hello, Alex Lafkus here. I'm going to tie one of my favorite Stonefly patterns. Today, colors will be a little bit different. Um, it's basically just a Stonefly, but one thing I'll tell you about this one, man, it's hard to sink it. And that goes a long way in my book. Um, usually when we're fishing these stones, we're covering a lot of water and fishing them hard, so you want something that doesn't sink. Let's start with this Daiichi 2117 again. This is size 6. I'll tie them some 4s, but a lot of 6, 8, 10. And if I need to go smaller, I tend to tie them more on traditional hooks. So I'm going to start with a little deer hair underbody. And we're going to add about everything we can to this to make this thing float better. A lot of these stones we're going to be running them in, a lot of blind fishing situations. I think that probably would be the same out west and everything else. So you want something that's going to really float, hold together, and stay up. That's kind of why I've stuck with this little pattern. Obviously I've tied a million different Stoneflies over the years, and it was just finding the right combination of materials to get it so it stays there where you want it. So after I put the little deer hair body in, do a couple of things here now. I'm getting this is premium dry fly hackle, small, and I'm going to load this boy up. Uh-oh. First things first, haven't tied one of these in a while. Probably since, I don't know, May. I'm going to tie the little foam in first. So we're going to put some foam as the back over the deer hair. And I usually do some loose wraps with that foam first before I start cinching it down. I kind of want to have a wider area of thread so that when I pull on it, I'm not cutting off the foam. This is just, cheap Michaels whatever foam. I think they're making some better foam now. I happen to have giant sheets of this. So we're going to try to go through some of this, which I got a feeling will be in a some sort of yard sale or gifted to a local fly shop when I die by my wife, because I have a lot of it. But when you buy giant sheets, they last a while. So we're just going to go ahead and take this hackle now, and I really put a lot of hackle on these. The one nice thing about this too is that with this foam overlay, and this is something I do with a lot of my hex spinners as well. I'm going to tie them kind of the same way, where I do the palmered body with foam over top. The foam holds it in place. So like even if it breaks, it seems like it doesn't explode all the way off the hook. And I think a lot of these flies take a lot more abuse on the foam than a little less destruction on the hackle, because the foam is there. Well, had to let a hound out. We are a family of 5. My wife and I and 3 hounds. So we're kind of at their mercy now. Anyway, I'm going to kind of give this a little runway of foam here too, and that way I can really cinch it down and make sure it's not going to amputate. Don't want your foam to amputate when you get to this point. Okay, so there's your basic body. You can see a lot of flotation device on that thing. Next thing I'm going to do, and this, I don't know. My buddy out west, who I've known for 30 years, swears he really likes the underwings on Stoneflies. So I add a little bit of underwing. This is going to be some high vis. I used to use that EP floating stuff, which I just either can't find or ran out of. What I will say about this underwing, it's just another thing to help everybody float a little better. So it'll soak up a little floating, and it just kind of seems to help the whole program. And you'll notice, like, when I'm doing this to give it sort of a tapered head, everything I'm working on. Because when I do go ahead and put the bull elk in, or just whatever elk hair, you want to have that taper kind of built in, so it's just a little smoother transition. There we go. So there's our little underwing. And spread that out a little bit, like say. Now, another thing that has made this stuff... Oh, the hounds. This bull elk, I honestly had one patch elk hair for my whole life that Dennis Potter gave me like 25 years ago that was excellent elk hair that made tying this type of stuff really easy. This Nature Spirit stuff is awesome. I've said it before. I use the Nature Spirit hopper hair hopper deer hair for the body on this. And I'm using this bull elk. Dude, this stuff is... It's made me actually enjoy tying deer hair stuff again. You know, like, I obviously don't mind it, but boy, when you have a functional piece of hair, it makes all the difference in the world. When you're dealing with broken tips and you know, shortened stuff or bad thick, you can buy terrible hair. Let's just leave it at that. And this stuff is pretty awesome. I've really been a fan of it, and like as I mentioned, it's made tying with hair a little better. Now I can't find my big deer hair stacker. Oh wait. Okay, so there's my big deer hair stacker. Forget who made these old things. I think Dr. Slick ended up buying the company and selling them for a while. This one, the cork's been beat off, so I just added some of my 8 million sheets of foam. And I go pretty heavy on the hair on this stuff too. Like, it's what you want. You want it to be heavy. You want it to be thick. See, and look how even those tips come out. I mean, this stuff is just awesome. Not a ton of under fur. Just about perfect. Okay. Okay. So when I tie this in, I want to give it a couple of looser kind of wraps. And then I'm going to segment that spun head on there. And what that does is kind of, it always seems like that digs in a little bit better and really helps that wing stabilize so it's not turning on the hook. And I'm going to use a lot of hair or a lot of hackle, thread, whatever I'm doing now. And what that's going to do is allow it to, I'm going to end up covering it up anyway, but I want to really have a nice, try to triangulate it so I have a nice smooth transition for my dubbing and for my hackle. There you go. Oh, there we go. A big old pork chop stonefly. These things are so much fun to fish. And you don't get a ton of bites a lot of times on them, but you can get some really nice fish doing it. But you can see how well that hair works. I mean, this stuff is awesome. Next up, I'm going to take some more hackle, a little bit bigger than what I'm running on the body now. And I'm going to tie this in right on that sloped head. So we're just going to kind of put that in there. And once again, I am going through a lot of thread, but who cares? Thread's cheap in the grand scheme of things. Then I'm going to add, these are MFC centipede legs. Really doesn't matter. What size are these? These are mediums. They don't twist leader so bad, but you know, that's another thing I'm not that worried about when I'm running this big of a bait, because I'm just, I mean, it's going to be on cable anyway. It's, you know, probably on 2X or 1X or whatever, and it doesn't really matter. I get a little bit more particular when I go with like tying ants and stuff, and then I'm using a lot of the round rubber legs just in an extra small, because those seem to not twist your, I don't think they'll twist 5X. Maybe it was 4X. I don't know, been a minute. But you can tend to go a lot lighter on those, so I'm just going to kind of whop the rubber leg in there. And you know, you can always trim those too, however long you want it. Those are going to be a little long, so I'll probably go back in and trim them when I'm done, but kind of lasso them in there. Now, as I dub the head on this too, this is where you can kind of adjust how you want those rubber legs to stick out. Oh, sure, whatever. Just grab my trusty, the one dubbing box I have, and decide on whatever color I want out of there. This is like some whatever sulfur or something. I don't know, it's kind of like a dirty yellow. It's fine. This is kind of one of them goldens, a bigger golden. You know, we get Amber's goldens, we get the black and orange, we get the Thrasher, which is a black and yellow. So, you know, I kind of tie them in all colors, and you will see as you progress, like through the season, that, you know, they start out smaller and then get bigger. So, you know, usually like a lot of May and late May is more smaller, you know, like 12s, 10s, stuff like that. And as you get later into, early June and such, that's when the bigger stones are out. This is, I mean, and this goes back to like, I've got some videos out on us kind of doing this where it's basically streamer fishing with dry flies. You can get a couple shots a day, but it is a lot of fun, and you can get some really nice fish. It seems like, you know, in Michigan, when that temp gets 60-ish, and you start having drakes and some bigger mayflies and stuff around, water gets low and clear, you know, all of those things kind of combine. And that's when, you know, the streamer bite really dies, but those fish are really looking for still eating bigger baits on top. Then this is, I'm going to pile on the hackle because you can. The other thing about adding all this hackle is like, you know, if you go to mend, it'll skate the fly a little versus pulling it under. You know, like there's a lot of things with your presentation that having this hackle will really help. So I'm going to really load that up. And that's your guy right there. So, you know, it's a basic standard stonefly like you see everywhere around the world, but nothing special about that. The reason I really like this fly is all that hackle on the body with that foam over top and that little underwing of high vis. Man, I'm telling you, you know, this is a pretty heavy hook, and these things float forever, dude. So if you're blind fishing or you're guiding and you got guys grinding it all day, like, start tying them this way with that hackle and the foam, and you're going to be like, instead of needing 6 or 8 to get through a day because they're sinking all the time and you got to let them dry till the next day, these will last, you know, you can get a couple of them in there and you're going to be fine. But that's the guy right there. You know, to kind of trim those legs up if you want. I'll probably leave them long for a minute and trim them while I'm on the water. That's kind of what I do a lot of the times. Just kind of get them where you think you want them and go from there. But that's it. No big deal. Super simple fly. You know, it takes manipulating some smaller materials, but it will float better for you. I can guarantee you that. Like I said, that Nature Spirit hair is really made these way easier to tie. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that video. Let me know questions or comments or any suggestions on other stuff to tie. So once again, we're sitting in an ocean of snow, which is very depressing, and motivation helps. Thanks.